Hey, what's up, guys? It's Lauv. It's super important to prioritize your mental health and to create a safe space for yourself and for others to do so. I've talked a lot about my experiences with loneliness, anxiety, OCD, depression. A couple of years ago, I hit probably the lowest moment of my life. Luckily, my friends, my team, my family were able to pull me out and encourage me to go find care, and started really taking care of myself through therapy and psychiatry, and then also picking up good habits like meditation. My friends and my family and my team and them opening up to me about their own experiences and supporting me. That's something that I wanted to be able to do, is to be able to speak a lot more openly about this stuff, because I just think it's really important. There's a growing community of people talking about mental health, thank God, sharing their experiences and learning how to help themselves and each other. So check out their Presence of Mind interactive video series to learn how to ask for help, step up for someone going through a mental health challenge, and normalize mental health conversations. Go to findyourwords.org/presence of mind.
Give some folks at home who may not know necessarily about your work a little bit of background on you and some of the work you've been doing in the mental health space as well.
As I was getting out of probably like the lowest low, like my first like really major depression, and like right as I got on some medication and like really started to take therapy really seriously, I made a song, and it all kind of started from the song I made called Sad Forever, and had this idea to, in addition to like starting to actually talk about my mental health, you know, which is something that's way more common now for artists, you know, for a while I feel like people were very hidden about that kind of stuff.
For sure.
I wanted to create a way to take all the money from that song and distribute it to different, you know, organizations that are working, you know, whatever, and just in different ways in the mental health field. So I started a foundation called the Blue Boy Foundation, and we started doing that. And then that kind of like has expanded into, I mean, it's always growing more and more so, but that was kind of like one of the big steps for me. And then I also, on tour, I started this thing called My Blue Thoughts that has now expanded into also like a website. I wanted to create that space in my shows where people could have a place to, like, at first it was just pick up a piece of paper and a pen and just write something you need to get off your chest, and then drop it anonymously in this box. And it was kind of like an experiment. Like I was like, I don't really know where this is gonna go, but I just wanted to kind of try something, because I just found as I got older and I started like really leaning into like putting music out and like seeing how important that vulnerability was for me and how much I guess that was like connecting with people. I wanted to kind of create that opportunity for people at my shows. So it would literally be a thing where like in the middle of the set, I would, you know, like talk about it a little bit and encourage people to not be like trying to calculate what you're going to say, but to just, you know, at some point in the night, stop by the My Blue Thoughts box, pick up a pen and a piece of paper and just kind of get something off your chest. People responded super well to it. And then that kind of just kept growing from there. And yeah, it's just been something I've been really passionate about over the past few years, definitely.
To ask you a very personal question,
Yeah.
Do you feel like music production has helped you work through any emotional baggage? Like, do you feel like that's a really good outlet for
I
exploring
mean, the
mental
music,
health?
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of like, if I think back to when I started writing songs and I was like 12, like that's probably a big part of it, was like, you know, without even consciously thinking about it, just having that avenue to kind of like this is a space for my feelings right now. You know what I mean? Like no matter what's going on around me and my family and this and that, you know, whatever hectic stuff's happening, this is like my space to explore with no consequences, you know, creativity, like just kind of express freely. That is just, to me, the most, probably like the most rewarding thing in life is that process, you know, just really creativity in general, just being in the moment and being vulnerable. So that's certainly helped me so much.
A lot of time music is a place where you can kind of infuse that sadness to get a vibe into a song.
Right.
Has that kind of changed the way you've been thinking about the music that you put out into the world, and knowing that you have so many fans that are going to connect with the vibe of those songs and the feelings that kind of come from them?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like the more I actually think about it, the less genuine it ends up being. So I have to like really just, no matter where I'm at, just be totally just going with whatever I'm actually feeling. And lately, luckily, I feel like there's been a lot of music in my life that I've made that I tended to gravitate towards, even if the song itself wasn't actually sad, like some type of like sad, melancholic feel to whatever was happening, you know? I think that was something I found a lot of comfort in, but a lot of the newer music I'm working on, there's actually like some self-allowance of happiness, which is nice.
It is an interesting balance of figuring out what you want to post and why and for what reason, and if it's helpful. Do you ever feel like you have a lot of pressure, especially as a musician? Because I know a lot of people look to musicians as their emotional outlets and as their therapy sometimes. Do you feel any pressure to post things that are helping people to keep people positive, or do you feel like
For
you
a
focus more on being
long time, I really did, but I actually think it drove me kind of crazy. Like I feel like as I was adjusting to my career, it's like really as like I put out like I Like Me Better in 2017, and everything kind of started to explode. Like I was trying to understand like how do I prioritize like me for myself versus like me for whatever all of this is, and like all the people that are attached to my music and message and that are coming to my shows and I'm connecting with. Being authentic, I think, is the thing that in every direction is gonna touch somebody in probably the most meaningful way.
You talked about your first depression and then you being like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah.
What was the point? Like, how did you know it was time to, okay, this is more than just, I'm not just down. I'm not just having a bad day. Like for you, what was that moment?
Well, there's definitely like a breaking moment that's in my mind, but it was really like, it's probably a month of just absolute hell where I had basically throughout most of 2018, I was just getting increasingly generally anxious, like all of the time. From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, like really crippling anxiety and just getting lower and lower, and started falling out of love with like everything in my life. Music, like felt really distant from my friends, felt really panicked, felt distant from myself, felt really bad about myself. I started to have a lot of feelings of being a bad person and all negative stuff going on in here. And it got to a breaking point, like really between 2018 and 2019, spent pretty much a whole month, like day after day, just in my bed, crying, like unable to work on any music, unable to do anything, like calling my family, my friends over and over, looking for reassurance, trying to talk through the stuff that was going on in my head, journaling obsessively. It wasn't just like, oh, I can like manage this and live my life. It was like, this became my life for that period of time. And once that became my whole life and like I lost touch with like doing things, and living, like, one of my sisters was like, she was the one who was actually like, please go see a psychiatrist. Cause I had already been, seeing a therapist and I was like super against it. Like I was just like, no, because when I was in college, a psychiatrist tried to put me on medication, but I just totally blew it off. And I was like, no. I think I just got to a point where I was like, I literally can't live like this. Like I just can't, like it won't last, driving home from, when I did see that psychiatrist and being like, wow, that was a big moment for me, because I think there's still quite a bit of like confusion and questions and stigma around like that aspect of it, like the chemical aspect of,
For sure.
Outside of therapy or seeing a psychiatrist, for anyone who might be struggling with those things, who would want to be in your position, which I imagine a lot of people do you have any basic advice for how you deal with things like OCD or anxiety to create a whole bunch of cool stuff? Like, how do you get past the barriers?
I think like one thing I've really had to grasp is like, I can't fix my mental problems from the same mind that I've been thinking in. I spent all this time being like, oh, I can just think my way through this obsessive thought loop, or like, I can just think my way out of this like depression, or I can just switch. But the thing is, like, if you're coming from that perspective, you can only see from that perspective, you know what I mean? So I think like really being serious about doing things like meditation, or even just mixing up the things that I do in my life. Like there's so many small things you can do that even momentarily put you in a slightly different mindset, that really it's an amalgamation of like all those little moments of like just trying different things in your life, whether that's like exercise or meditation or conversations with people or whatever, getting yourself in whatever way feels healthy and good to you into a different mindset to be able to kind of rethink what's going on. I feel like those are the moments I make breakthroughs, and I'm able to like implement more healthy thought patterns, I guess.
Working in your daily life, I'm sure you have a lot of people around you all the time, handlers, managers, bands, all that kind of stuff. Are you finding that they are also kind of helping you? They can see you and say, Lauv, I know you're going through a thing. Let's sit here for a minute and chill and figure out a way to kind of get through it. Do you feel like those parts of your life and your bandmates and the folks who are in your circle, your intimate circle, are kind of helping you through that process in real time when you're like doing shows?
I mean, definitely. Yeah. I feel like I've definitely had to lean on my team like a lot, like especially on tour, there's times where I was all the way in Asia and I was like having an extreme meltdown, and I was like on the verge of like wanting to cancel shows and, stuff like that, which I would never want to do. It's just awful. Yeah. I think it's definitely nice to have that kind of support system. It's really, really important. And I think that's something that's being valued a lot more also in the industry, which is good. For me, a big thing has become mornings. I've definitely become my girlfriend likes to sleep in a little bit. I think the thing I usually do is I get up like an hour before her, come down, meditate a little bit, make some coffee, kind of sit and like just get that moment before I start my day. I think that's been a huge thing. Being okay with like very short kind of things throughout the day, like little, even for me, like little power nap resets, like a 12-minute thing, like, and just kind of understanding that even though like whatever, in small increments, it can be super helpful. I don't know if I'm the best person at time management though, overall.
Is anybody, you know what I mean? Is anybody great at it? Right?
I mean, you did only get 2 hours of sleep, sir.
That's what he was aiming for, Ka. That's what he wanted. All right, that was on the schedule. I mean,
When I'm at my most creative is when I have the least amount of sleep, which is kind of true in not the best ways.
What do you feel the actual benefits are of meditating? Because you're right, that to a lot of people it does sound kind of hokey or weird.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, give me the science. What do you feel like the benefits have been for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really just creating space between my thoughts, and that space is like where I actually feel like I'm alive. You know, I don't feel like I'm in my head. It's pretty impossible to run from your mind. You know, it's like, no matter where you go, it's with you. Yeah. So meditation for me is really like training myself to get into that space where I don't feel the need to gravitate towards stressing about something or to latch onto this negative emotion about somebody or this self-judgmental thought. Or it's like literally like learning how to just be okay with just being and feeling how good life feels when you just are. And I think that's like really what it is for me, is getting to that place.
Thank you so much for being here and spending time with us. And
no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being able to do stuff like this. I feel like I don't do it often enough, so I really appreciate it.
Until next time, we'll all see you very, very soon. So peace.